Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats podcast, the podcast that guides you not to only host retreats that thrive financially, but also transform people's lives. I'm your host, Lainey Cavazos, and each week I bring you the best strategies and personal insights to help you create retreat experiences that transform lives, both your clients and your own. In our journey together, we'll dive into the secrets behind successful retreats, from crafting a unique atmosphere to mastering the logistics that ensure profitability. Whether you're tuning in for inspiring interviews with leading retreat experts or seeking actionable advice in our solo episodes, this podcast is your go-to resource for turning your retreat visions into reality. Don't miss out on any of our episodes and subscribe now. For more tools and a free guide on creating your own six-figure retreat business, visit theretreatplanner.com. Now let's get started and make your retreat dreams come true. So, thank you so much for being here, first of all, for giving yourself the time to go deeper into the world of retreats. I am just so passionate about retreats, marketing, sales, and most of all, running profitable businesses. So I love seeing other people wanting to host retreats, in-person transformations. That's how I call them, right? It's so beautiful to see more retreat leaders out there. Now, let's begin this class, right? So this class is all about creating, launching, and I'm going to talk about the main things you want to make sure you are doing for your retreat. Because guess what? Did you actually know that 70% of retreats are not profitable? 70%. So that means 7 out of 10 retreats do not make a profit. That's horrible. I mean, how can you keep changing the world if you're not making a profit? Let's just be very, very real here. In order for you to have a sustainable business, it needs to be profitable. If you agree with me, I would like you to type a 1 in the chat. I do ask for interaction in the chat because I want to always make sure that we're in the same page. If this makes sense for you, how are we doing, right? And then also because the session gets to be more tailored towards the people actually attending, right? So if you've seen anything that I've sent out there in the emails and on my podcast, I'm all about profit, because that is the way for you to keep doing what you're doing. So when you find yourself hosting retreats that are not profitable, you are setting yourself up for failure. Because at the end of the day, without any money in the bank account of your business, you'll have to close eventually. Yeah. So it's not about sold out retreats like everyone else out there in the market is like, have you seen this person saying, oh my gosh, I have a sold out retreat? Maybe you want to raise your hand if you've seen that, people showcasing on social media. Oh my gosh, I have a sold out retreat. Guess what? I am a marketer in heart, right? That's what I do. So I run tons of market research to see what's going on out there in the market. So whenever I see a lot of people saying, oh my gosh, I sold out retreats, I go and I ask them, okay, amazing. That's great. How was your profit? And guess what? Most times out of not, they're not making the profit that they want, even if they sold out the retreat. My most shocking example actually came around 6 months ago when I was doing like my quarterly market research with retreat hosts. They were like, yes, I hosted retreats. And I'm like, oh, amazing. How many retreats have you hosted? They're like 13. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is so great. Congratulations. I said like, okay, so can I ask you, if you don't mind, as a research practice, how much money did you make in each retreat? And her reply was $500. I see, Maria, I see your face. Yes, that was my face too. $500 per retreat profit. The first time you run a retreat, and there's a question coming up here. the first time you run a retreat, if you don't not take any course and you do not get, a system that helps you go through it, the average time that a first-time retreat leader takes to run this retreat is 200 hours. 200 hours if you have to go and figure out everything by yourself, right? Write the copy for your website, do the market research for your ideal client, find the venue, choose the food, find the facilitators, and do everything. 200 hours. I'm going to put out my calculator. So if we split, right? So she made $500, right? So this is one example. So she made $500, right? Wait, there we go. Yeah. So I'm going to split that between 200 hours to see how much she made per hour of work. $2.5 per hour. I see Danielle, she's like, no. Like, now tell me, how much do you want to charge per hour of work? And if you feel like sharing it in the chat, there's no right or wrong answer, put it in there. Yes, the 200 hours include actually hosting the retreat in average. $100 an hour. So if you're spending 200 hours, right, to that means you want to be making $20,000 of profit in your retreat, right? And it's totally possible, right? So Lori's 40 to 100, perfect. Now, inside of my courses, we go deeper into how do you pay yourself so it's actually a business. So whatever you're losing from your other business, because every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, right? So we go deeper into that space, and we don't really have the whole time for me to explain that, because it's a whole setting up your business session. But really, it's so important for us to understand that when we want to build a profitable business, we need to measure everything. What gets measured gets done. Who here is a fan of numbers? And maybe you want to raise your hand here. Yeah, I see you. Yeah. So sometimes we're not such a big fan of numbers, but I actually, myself, I do love numbers. I did not have to learn how to love them, but I do encourage every woman entrepreneur to learn to love their numbers. For me, numbers are the measurable way for us to see if what our dreams, right, what we want to create, that space, creating space, is actually becoming a reality or not. And at the end of the day, it does give you freedom. Yeah. So, question here. Who here, and you can write type a yes in the chat, who here wants to run retreats that are profitable? Yeah. And I'm so happy to see some familiar faces also, by the way. Thank you for being here. Yes, yes, yes. Honestly, it's a lot of work to run a retreat. They're super rewarding. I teach how to build 6-figure businesses with retreats. So you're making, you can make good money with it. Yeah. But they do require an extra layer of work. So if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. So my question here now for all of you is, who here has hosted one retreat? And you can type the number. You can type actually the number of retreats you hosted. If you have hosted 0, put 0 in the chat. And that's totally fine. Because here, what we're looking here is for experts in their field, right? You have to be an expert in your field. You do not need to be an expert in running retreats. Okay. Amazing. So we have some good numbers. We have a few zeros. Perfect. And then we have Teresa, 6. Teresa, you're amazing. Her retreats are super, super transformational. Okay, then we have 4, we have 5, we have 1. Many one-day retreats. I'm so thrilled. People are still joining the session. I'm like, yay, more people to share. Esther, nice to see you again. All right. You will get a recording for this session, so do not worry. There is a recording, so you can go back and look at it and see what worked, what not. Okay, now that we have that a little bit more than that information, I can also tailor where we're going with this call. Yeah. So I'm gonna like paint a picture here. So I spoke about your retreat taking around 200 hours to plan, the first one, right? And if you're smart about it, you create a system that is rinse and repeat. So then next time it does not take you that long, right? And then at each single time, it's less and less and less time. That's all about building a sustainable business. And I'm like a huge fan of that. But let's look at this from a different perspective. Maybe you spent hours planning the perfect retreat, but the signups are not coming. You keep posting on Facebook. I want you to like you feel like if that were you, that was your case, right? Or you maybe even felt so like you're like, oh my gosh, I really feel in my heart that I want to host retreats. Like I've been to retreats. I know what the transformation it is. I really want to add this into my business, but I am even too afraid to start. Right? So how does that feel for you? Like in reality, like how do you feel about that? Now, if that was a situation, what would be the consequences of that, right? You'll probably be wasting time, right? Lost money on on the transformation, and you might even start questioning if what you're doing is worth it or if you're good enough, right? So it's like, you're posting and people are not responding. You're ghosted. Has anyone been there that in that space in the social media world? Like, yeah, I see Teresa nodding. I see Lori as well. Yeah, it's normal. And it's not getting better. So I'm going to tell you now a solution for that, because I do want you to leave this session with actionable solutions for your business. And then, of course, if you want to have a conversation with me separately to see if this is the right fit for you, if you want to keep moving on with retreats, if you need support, I'm happy to have that conversation. But for now, one actionable step. You might be feeling like, you're in a space and there's so many, you're a sardine and there's thousands of sardines around you. I want you to be that mahi mahi. I want you to be that special person. And the only way to do that, to be stand out in the space, is to actually be specialized in your niche. To know what you're doing, to be the best at what you do. So I know Teresa, for example, her retreats are focused now on empty nesters. That's super targeted. That's great. That's the way to go. Super targeted. I know, Marina, you're amazing at marketing and marketing retreats. So you might want to be hosting retreats for people who want to market their retreats. That's your specialty, right? Yes, you can do breath work, you can do a few other things, add them into the combination to make it beautiful and transformational. But don't try to reinvent the wheel. Be the expert in one thing. Be the best at it. The reality is that right now, we see so many retreats. In the past 5 years, it has exploded. Guess what? That it's actually great news, because that means there's a demand. So when the demand rises, the offer rises, right? Basic economics here. This is great news. But the people who are being left behind are the ones who are doing very generic retreats. Rest, relax, and reset in Bali. Who's that for? What am I going to get? Yes, maybe I do need to rest. Do I need to travel all the way to Bali to rest? Right? So, how does this sound for so far? Type a 1 in the chat if you agree, and also you can type a 2 in the chat if you do not agree. Okay, I see a lot of ones. Okay, perfect. In a crowded market, you need to stand out. I will not get tired of repeating this. And that's why we focus so much on who is your ideal client. Who are you serving? We have some foundational pieces for any business in the transformational space to work. The number one is your purpose. Why are you doing this? And we're not even addressing that today because I know that if you're here, it's because you have a clear purpose of what you want to leave behind in this world. Right? I see Lori nodding. I love your background, by the way. Okay. Number two, your ideal client. If you do not have a super, super clear problem that you're solving for your ideal client, it's very hard for them to even know that they're supposed to come and sign up for your retreat. Hi, Lori. All right. I love seeing familiar faces. This is like the most amazing thing. Okay, let's go back to this. So if we are in this space and we do not know who our ideal client, I'm going to give you an example here. Let's say you're putting out together a retreat that is for women, and you do not say that it's only for women, and then suddenly maybe you have men signed up. There was this one retreat. It was a silent retreat. Guess what? Someone showed up to the retreat and the copy was not super clear about it. It was like, you know, on the bottom information that it was a silent retreat. And these guys showed up and they're like, okay, so now we're going to be silent for the next 7 days. He had no idea that it was a silent retreat. So if you're not clear on your copy, if you do not talk to your ideal client, you might not either get any people or get the wrong person. Your marketing strategies and knowing your ideal client is all created to filter out the people who are not right to come to your retreat and the people that should know they want to come to your retreat. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's a filter, knowing your ideal client like it's your best friend. But I'm going to say something here also. Your ideal client is not your ideal client forever and ever and ever. You change, you transform, you become more competent, and so does your ideal client shift. It will not always be the same ideal client that you had at the beginning of your journey. So you always want to be checking yourself and doing the exercises that I teach or someone else's teaches, right? If you already done this work with someone else, go and look back at the questions. Is this still relevant? Go use ChatGPT. I mean, there's so many tools out there, but make sure that your ideal client is current. Because if your ideal client has not updated and what you offer has updated, again, mixed messages, no one signs up. Remember, I said that there's so many people out there saying, oh my gosh, I sold a retreat and then they're not making profit. There's a lot of people also out there saying, oh my gosh, it's impossible to sell a retreat. And then when I'm like, okay, let me have a look at your website. And I go and I do free audits from time to time, right? Most of the time, the messaging and the ideal client is not clear at all. There are just small fish among other small fish. There's nothing unique about them. They focus on selling the tools, not the transformation, not the problem that is solved. Yeah. And this is taking us actually to the point number 2 of here about marketing strategies. A big part of your marketing is actually the copy to promote your retreat, is the social media posts that you do. Now, that does not mean you need to have 100,000 followers to fill up your retreat. Not at all. You do need the right marketing strategies. Yeah. You do need that. You need a proper launch process. You need to know your ideal client is your best friend. And you need to get yourself in this space where you understand behavioral psychology of how people purchase. And last but not least, and we'll talk more about this, you need to have the right pricing. This is one of my favorite topics, and actually I spend a lot of time with my clients going through pricing, because it's not even just the numbers or knowing how to do a budget. It's about actually the mindset of how do I price? How much am I supposed to charge? Most people will teach you out there in the market that you should just increase a 50% profit on top of your costs. And I call bullshit. Because what if your transformation is so much bigger than your costs? What if you're doing your retreat, let's say in Honduras, and the costs are super low? And then you're going to say, now I'm going to make $200 for this transformation because my retreat cost is $200. You don't want to do that, right? So anyway, pricing is super, super important. And it's the foundational piece to actually have the sales strategy to sell your retreat, because it positions you in a different place. You're not a person selling a vacation with some transformation on the side. You're selling transformation. You're solving a problem. It's all about the problem that you're solving. And let me tell you something. Depending on the problem and the person and how much capacity they have for that problem is how much they will be willing to pay. And we do not base prices based on self-worth. If you want to have a conversation about that, we can have a completely separate conversation about that. But we do not base our prices on self-worth. Self-worth fluctuates. One day we feel on top of the mountain, and another day we don't. Yeah, okay. So far, let me just do a little bit of a bringing back the information, right? So you need to know your ideal client. You need to have effective marketing strategies. This does not mean vanity metrics, 100,000 followers. You need engaged people. You just need 6 engaged people to say yes to your retreat, or 8, nothing more than that. Right. Those pieces help you create an irresistible offer, something that people want to buy. And then after that, we move into the sales part, where you need to be confident. But guess what? It's very easy to fluctuate the confidence on our sales depending on the product that we're launching. If we feel confident about what we're offering, there's so many pieces that come inside of it. So it's not just about, oh, I'm a great salesperson. Do I actually believe in my product? Would I actually pay someone else that amount of money to get that transformation myself? You do not have to have paid them, but would you actually pay them? Okay. All right, Lian. I'll answer your question in a moment. Yeah. Great question. I will get back to it. Okay. So I want to give you an example of Matthew. He's one of my previous students in my program, Mastering the Art of Retreat Planning, right? So Matthew had a very clear ideal audience. He works with veterans, first responders who have trauma. Simple. Very, very clear audience, right? He knew what he wanted to do, and he wanted to help people go through trauma. So when he went through the course and he started putting his different retreats, within 3 months, he had 3 sold out retreats in the summer. And he has a wait list of 76 people for her women's trauma retreat. Because he was clear about his price, he was clear about his offer, and he's so freaking passionate about it that he can sell it to anyone who wants to come. He did El Camino de Santiago in Spain last August. He had 12 people come with him. Before he even had that one finished, he already had 6 people signed up for 2025. That is when your marketing, your ideal client, your offer, everything is super clear. And that's what we really strive for. We don't strive for learning a little bit about the basic of like, oh, it's nice to host a retreat. Just book a hotel and, bring your people and let's just have some fun and, include some massages in there. No, no, no. I'm all about the foundations of your business. It's about really standing out and really knowing yourself. And guess what? Sometimes that takes a second, and that's okay. You might not know your ideal client in the first moment, but you will get there. If you strive for that, you will get there, and you'll get to know that person like it's your best friend. It takes time, yes, because it's a transformational journey. You are changing who you are as you go into this journey. You're not just now someone who's not just, but someone who's just doing online courses or services or this and that. You're actually now someone who is solving a problem in an in-person container, who's getting people to trust her to go to the other side of the world with them, to a different country, to a different city. That journey of hosting retreats, it's a deeply transformational journey for the host. It's not just for the attendees, it's for the host as well. Every single time we start a course, I ask my students, what do you want to get out of that retreat? Forget about the money. Actually, of the experience of hosting that retreat. What do you want to get out for yourself? Because guess what? We need to make sure that our cup is full so we can actually share with others. You have no idea how many times I've seen retreat hosts burn out after the retreat and I need 1 week vacation to recover from this because they did not take care of themselves. So if you've been there or heard of someone, there are ways on how to manage that. And it's by setting boundaries, setting intentions, knowing how to build your itinerary. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I want to say something more about what can happen if you follow the process, if you really go through every single step, right? You create a system for yourself, or you join one of my programs and you learn my system that is actually tailor-made to you. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Lori. That's so nice. I appreciate you. So you have to have a system so you can rinse and repeat. So it's not so much work in the future. Like type of one in the chat if you agree that you want to work less, make more money, and just like have fun. Yes, there is work, of course, there is. But there are ways on how you can get there in a different direction. Yeah. There are ways on how to manage that. And sometimes it's just, pulling someone who already has been doing this for like 18 years of events experience and marketing and for years, like especially in the retreat space, and just grabbing that one. So you don't have to go figure it out on your own. I mean, if we really think about it, it is all about you being the expert on your field and then grabbing someone else who's an expert on something else and then just taking their knowledge, squeezing it out of them. Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk also about some stories of not much success and of people inside my program. And I like to be super transparent in this space because you can either be like Matthew or like Niels that has like 6 retreats per year and he does retreats for chiropractors and they're like surf camps and they go and they have a master teacher in surf and then they have their chiropractor recertification every year and then they go do running camps in Kenya, super specific. They follow the process, they do the work, they show up, they take action. But if you do not take action, right, and you're not very clear about who's your ideal client, and you stay in the, I'm going to call it the cloud of fluffiness of not knowing who your client is, you do not get the results, right? So in order for anyone to get results inside of anyone's program, not just mine, you have to do the work. Yeah, it's important. This is not like, oh yes, it just magically appeared. So you need to learn systems, you need to learn your, what you do, how does that apply for you, what works for you. Like if you hate TikTok, like I don't like TikTok and I do not do dancing on TikTok or anything like this. This will not be part of my marketing strategy. It can work perfectly for someone else. It does not have to be mine, right? You get to choose what works for you and create your own method, your own system on how you do things for your benefit. Yeah. But if you do not do these things, you can be like Nicole. I'll call her Nicole just for the sake of like privacy, right? So let's think about Nicole. She wanted to do retreats. She had one concept at the beginning. It was very clear. It was very niched. And as time came through, she just kept bouncing ideas and changing the concept. Oh, maybe I do this now. Maybe I do that. Guess what happened to the retreat? It did not happen. Because she had something that worked. People were attracted to it. People were asking questions. But then she was like, what if I change it to a golf retreat? Maybe I'll have more people that way. And maybe then afterwards, like, but maybe what if I bring all these speakers and spend so much money on speakers? And I'm like, no. You stick with your zone of genius, right? You stick with your zone of genius. All right. Okay. Now, I think we're doing good time. Now, I have to say, Lara, it's nice to see your face. I know you were in the blue zone a second ago. Okay, Lara is in one of my courses currently, so I'm so very excited to be here. Okay, so I'm gonna answer now, Liana, your question, and I'm gonna answer it and give some more out of it, right? So let's hope I can do you service of this. Okay, so the question is, what do you think about offering a retreat that is included they have to pay for it, right? With a high ticket course, 20 to 30K, where they are able to integrate and experience the learning and enjoy group transformation. 100%. I did a session on business trends not so long ago. And the business trend number 3, actually on Tuesday, I did a session for that on retreats in a networking event. So the business trend number 3 is actually hybrid programs. People prefer online in a sense of like knowing that they can attend from their home. They don't have to take themselves elsewhere, but people prefer on live experiences. So they're usually kind of like pulled between each other, right? They're like, oh, I want in person, but online is easier. What should I do? So hybrid programs is one of the biggest trends for 2025. So I say yes. Now, this includes a few technical pieces, right? You might need to have an entry point, so everyone starts at a point and then they all end at the same time. Your retreat could be the entry point, right? So they start with the retreat and then they go for the program, but that means your launch time and the, let's say, open cart time where people come into your space is the same one, right? So it's not recurring. Or you can say, well, it's it doesn't have to be at the beginning or at the end of the program, right? It can be in the middle, so people can join at different times and stages. Now, you could also have your program and that for a 20 and 30K, I would include the retreat already in the package. But let's say you have a 10K program, then you can have a VIP upsell where then you have a retreat included, right? So you have 2 layers. Because let's even like go deeper into the space and you make this retreat non-mandatory. It's included, but if they don't come, it's fine. It's already in your costs, right? You're not giving it for free. They're paying for it. But you do not make it mandatory because guess what? What if you decide you want to do your retreat in Kenya And included that means that actually they have to add $2,000 for a flight ticket because they like to fly business, and they need to add some extra dates before. So your bonus is actually adding an expense to their program. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when you put bonuses and you call things bonuses, they should not have to pay extra to have those bonuses. And you do not want to include the flight ticket. Never. Never. This is a no-no. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, Lena, you offer the course 3 times a year and only up. Perfect. Then you bring more people together. Gathering, meeting community, building community is one of the most important pieces. I really encourage people to think about, okay, I'm adding retreats. How does that add into my business ecosystem? How does that add on to every single other thing that I'm doing, that I am planning to do? Unless you're building a completely separate, I'll answer Sarah in just 1 second. If you're included a completely separate business, right? You're building something that's completely different, completely ideal client audience. You're starting from scratch. Your retreats are an add-on to your business. Or on the other way around, because I do have a lot of clients who they are like, I want to do retreats. And then the online courses, the memberships, everything else comes on as an add-on to the retreat business. That makes your life so much easier. Yeah. Now, I'm going to answer this question. But before I do that, I want to just tell you that this is absolutely amazing. I love teaching. This is like, I get super, super passionate about it. And I can go like so much more beyond this. But what I shared so far is just the tip of the iceberg. Just the tip of the iceberg. We go so deep into these topics because if you do not have the foundations, it does not work. You have to build the foundations, yeah? So if you're ready to go deeper and implement this system, I would love to support you. So I have a program, right? It's called, like usual, Mastering the Art of Retreat Planning. And it's a program that gives you the system. It gives you all the templates. You learn everything you need to do. It's live sessions, it's small groups. It's usually between 4 to 8 people maximum, because then we get live coaching, actionable steps for your individual business. We can personalize a program based on the people who are attending. Honestly, it's the only way I do things, because for me, that's so powerful. Yeah. And of course, a supported community, because everyone who joins the course, they support each other in this journey, right? So if you want to figure out, right, if retreats are the right next step for your business and for you, right, I want to invite you to book a call with me to have a conversation. There is no salesy things here or there. We'll talk about it in the call because we make sure that it's the right fit for you. But basically, it is important for me to make sure that this is right for you. Yeah. If it's not right for you, I will tell you. So we look at your business, we look at your business goals, and then we can figure that out. So that is this. That is that. We'll have a conversation, but I want to make sure that I answer some questions while we still have time, because again, for me, it's important that you get some actionable steps. So if you have any questions, right now is the time to add them in the chat. And in the meantime, while you do that, I'm going to answer Sarah's question about why you can't include flights. And for some of you, that might be a little bit obvious, and you might be like, oh, yes, of course. And for some of you, you haven't even considered it as a possibility. So I'll use a real life example. I live in Mexico, right? my dog decided to go a little bit crazy. So my dog lives in Mexico with me, of course, yes. Okay, so I live in Mexico, right? So I went to India for like 3 weeks. My flight ticket was $1,200. Another person flew from San Francisco and her flight ticket was $700. $500 difference. As simple as that. If you add flight tickets, you do not know how it's going to cost. Now, an example. I did a consulting session for someone who runs retreats, and she had a experience that her retreat was supposed to be profitable in the books. But then she's like, Lainey, my retreat just finished and I had some major issues. And I'm like, okay, well, like usually people come to me when they're having pricing issues. That's like the big thing. I said, okay, tell me about it. And she's like, look, I decided to bring this facilitator from Colombia to Mexico for this retreat. And when I budgeted her flight, it was $300. By the time I actually booked the flight, it was $700. Please wait. My dog is like, his dog walker is nearby, so he goes a little bit wild. Anyway, such a life. Anyway, I was saying that that was her thing, and then after that, what happened is that she was like, okay, and then she has a baby. She's like, I actually did not budget for the room of the hotel for the nanny, and I did not budget for the nanny itself. I'm sorry about that if you can hear my dog howling. Usually it does not happen, but it is what it is. Let me just close the door for a second. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So basically, you want to be very mindful about flight tickets because even my doggy is excited. He hears the dog walker from like blocks away and he goes crazy. So I'm just waiting for someone to open the door. So anyway, as I was saying, being aware of your pricing and your cost is so important. In this case, she just had one flight where she had a $400 additional expense. What if that happened to the 10 attendees? You told them you were going to buy a flight for them. That's $4,000, right? Okay. So before we wrap up this session, are there any more questions that you want to ask? I always love to leave a little bit of time for like Q&A. Yeah, Lara, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
With that same example you gave of organizing a retreat, I wasn't clear why you made the retreat like an optional add-on that was already included in the price.
Okay, yes. So you have two options, right? So when you're in high tickets, you can include the retreat as part of the program. Yeah. But there's also the option where you can have a high ticket program and then you can have a VIP upsell if they want the retreat. So it's their choice if they add the retreat or not. Yeah. So it's like, and we're gonna get into that piece in one of our next sessions, but it's about how you package your offers based on your specific business style. But yeah, sometimes we just want to give the option for people to add the retreat, especially if your retreat might be somewhere that's very, very far away and you don't know if they will actually be able to come. Yeah. Did I answer your question, Laura?
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. Anyone else? No questions? Oh my gosh. I usually get like so many questions. And I'm happy to answer anything. So if you still have questions, just feel free to book a call with me. Let's have a chat. There's no commitment, nothing happening. Let's make sure that retreats are the right next step for your business. And that is the right time frame for you. And this brings me actually to something that I do want to tell you. And it's a question that people sometimes they don't ask a lot, but it's a great question to like a great answer to have in your bucket list when you're considering adding retreats into your business. When you're considering adding retreats into your business, you want to think about the timeline to actually have a successful retreat that you can sell. So if you're thinking about running retreats in 2025, by the end of 2025, and you want to take a course and get prepared and like get it ready and launch it, you need to start now. If you want to do it in like an international retreat, for example, at the beginning of 2026, you want to start now. You want to give yourself time to really make sure your offer is good. You don't want to be rushing to get the program. Yeah, you want to make sure that it's okay. All right. And then you want to start preparing. There's nothing worse than rushing like a headless chicken, trying to sell your retreat and not doing anything else for your business because you did not plan ahead. People need some extra time to make decisions to come to retreats. They just need that because they have to travel somewhere else. They might need to ask for holidays from work. There's many more circumstances that happen when people need to make the decision to come to a retreat or not. As entrepreneurs, we tend to assume that because we have flexibility with our schedule, everyone else has it too. Who's your ideal client? Is your ideal client an entrepreneur that has all the freedom to say, yes, I'm going tomorrow to Costa Rica? Or is your ideal client working and has to ask permission from their boss? That's why you need to know your ideal client like it's your best friend. Yeah. Lori, the program is 3 months long, and then we have some additional sessions afterwards to make sure that you have everything that it's done. Inside of the program, what we do and what we aim to do is actually to get one retreat launched within these 12 weeks, a retreat that then you can rinse and repeat. Teresa, you want to ask a question?
I do. So how long, once I've got, because I've already got all my marketing stuff and everything's done, how long do you market for each retreat? Like how far in advance?
Okay, so it's a great question. So it really depends if it's like the people who are coming are local or they're flying from a different part of the country. So if it's a local retreat, 3 months can be more than enough if you have an engaged community. If you're starting from like non-engaged community, you can go up to a year. Yeah? But if you have an engaged community, 3 months can be more than enough. It also depends on the time of the year. There's a few more things that we usually talk about, like high seasons and low season for retreats and whatnot. But yes, for local, I would say, so people are traveling around 2 hours to get to the retreat place. Longer travel than that, from 4 to 6 months in advance. International retreats, 6 to 12 months in advance. Oh, Liana, I'm excited to get to meet you and get to speak more with you. Yeah, I love chatting with people and just getting to know more amazing women out there hosting retreats. We need more retreats out there, by the way. You might feel that there's a lot. We need more. There is a necessity. The market is showing it. The Holistic Wellness Organization said that we're going to raise to I think $7 trillion by 2027 of spent on wellness travel. Yeah, I saw your face, Teresa. So there's a market. People are spending the money. It's happening. You just need to be specific enough. Solve one problem. If you take, yes, I do recommend retreat insurance, and I also recommend retreat. We'll go deeper into that, but yes. So if you take anything away from this session today, is be an expert on your field. Be the best out there. That way, guess what? competition fades. That's it. Competition fades. We cannot cover absolutely everything in this amount of time, but I am so grateful for all of you for showing up for yourselves, for bearing with me in this space. I always like to I tend to super pack my sessions. I'm like, okay, let's make sure we really go into the spaces, but you get some actionable steps out of here. Because at the end of the day, like, you already invested an hour of your time with me. So I wanted to make sure that you had something you could take home and just go deeper into the space. And honestly, ask yourself the question for everything we went through. How does this apply to me? And every time you make a decision to join a program, to say yes to be a guest on a podcast episode, ask yourself, is this yes really benefiting my goals, where I want to go? Will this add into that space? All right. Thank you so much for being here. This was absolutely amazing. Thank you for your energy, for your engagement. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, what a great episode. If you like our podcast, How to Run Profitable Retreats, leave us a review and share it with a friend.